Hello everybody, welcome to this TUCO Online introduction to TUCO Online being presented by myself, Gary Collins, the project manager for TUCO Online. Just to explain that this is going to be a short presentation into obviously how TUCO Online works and basically explain about what TUCO Online is, how it can benefit you as a business. If there is any questions that you may have, you can pop them into the questions section on the right hand side. So if anything comes up, please let me know. And again, we can answer questions at the end for you as well. Okay, so just to explain what TUCO Online is. TUCO Online is a revolutionary online ordering platform which allows you to order directly with your suppliers, aiding them to put your invoice into the system for you, and again linking to that to your accounts package. This will allow for you, obviously streamlining that process and obviously speed up that process for you as well. Okay. Just to give you a brief description of what we're going to cover today. So we're going to talk about the platform itself. We're going to show you how we create orders in a simplicity way of using favorites lists. We'll be looking at some flash reports and how that information feeds into that flash report from EPOS systems, and obviously loading in some forecasts and spend analysis. And then we'll look at some reporting in the background for things like spend analysis and looking how that impacts your business. Okay, so TUCO Online is an excellent package which obviously saves you time. A lot of the time, some of the time savings, you will see that there is a lot of information on our systems online, on our web pages, and you can see we've got a testimony here from the University of Aberystwyth that has obviously given them some considerable time saving and obviously some reduced almost the amount of work that they're putting into the business. So TUCO Online is a web-based platform. Just to explain that the screen you're looking at the moment is basically how it will interact with our systems in the background, being from the Access Group. You will be able to link it into what is called our Workspace app, which means it will give you a dashboard of all the reporting and tools that are coming. This is a future development that's being worked on at the moment, and obviously will be there eventually for you in the background as well. So we're going to go into the platform itself and actually show you a demonstration of how the system works. And then if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay. Let me just change. Apologies. This is a new. There we go. Okay. So this is the platform itself. It is a web-based platform, okay, and it's accessible via mobile phones, tablets, laptops. A lot of universities do use little tablets, so something like an iPad, but you don't necessarily need to have the expense of an iPad. And it is accessible and it's controlled by yourself. Can I just check? I've just been informed that some people can't hear me. Just want to check. It seems to be recording, it seems to be broadcasting. It might just be one sound. Okay, so we'll continue anyway because I can see that it's broadcasting out there. So this is the system itself. Like I say, it is a web access. You control the access of what users get to see within the system. Excuse me. So you control that by a set of what are called permissions. Within those permissions are things like what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, the restrictions that you put in place, and that user that you load into the system also has a limited amount of access based on how much they're allowed to spend also. Okay, so this is what the system will look like. As we scroll across the middle of the screen, you will see that there is different ways of creating orders, and again that is controlled by yourself within the business, and again we limit that on certain administrators will be able to control that. As we scroll down, you can see that we have a list of what is called favorites lists, and those favorites lists are controlled by yourself or an executive chef, or you can give the individual user the ability to create those. So it aids the ability of making things a lot bit streamlined, almost like creating a basket of goods that you always buy, so you then haven't got to find them within the system. Now, the way and all these are created is a nice and simple streamlined view. We click on a create button, create favorites list button, and then we can just call it whatever we wish. So as you can see here, I've got one that's called my bid food. I've got my breakfast list, my butcher list, and my desserts. So as you can see, it's quite flexible in what you can call them, but also means that you can devise them in a way that basically makes it streamlined for your team. So you could say create a list just for a certain supplier, or create a list for fruit, veg, potatoes, whatever it may be, just to make it nice and streamlined for your teams. When I click on my favorites list at the top here, it will then ask me a couple of questions. And again, this is all built around your system and your requirements. So depending on your requirements, depends on what options the user gets to pick in this section here. So if I put my name in the list here, you can see the next option that comes up is a delivery date. Now, the delivery date is controlled by your supplier, so they will build in your own delivery schedules. So if your supplier says that you only normally get deliveries on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when we go into placing the order, it knows that in the background so that the user doesn't need to worry about it. But they're always presented with that information to say your next available delivery slot is going to be X. In this section here, we always get to pick a department as well, depending on how we build your system in the background, depends on obviously how we build these. And again, this is configured, and this is the part of the order that starts the coding of how it feeds into your account system in the background. Okay, and the key thing about that is that if we think about the current processes, a lot of it is a manual data entry into your account system. Within the TUCO Online platform, we build those accounts and codes in the background, so it means that the users never have to code an invoice again. When I click continue, I'll then be listed with the products that I've added to my favorites list. So I can see that these are the different products that I've got available. Okay, if I look on this top product here, which is my oranges large, I can see from this that there is, this is a pack of 5, the agreed price is £2. I have the ability to see what supplier this is currently coming from. I also have the ability to pick whether I want to order this as a large pack, as a pack size, or as an individual split for this product. But I can also see that there is a potential saving for this product of 3 alternatives, which means it gives me the option to say, well, you could actually save some money based on the pack size that you're ordering to still save some money within the system. So here I can order a pack of 5 oranges, which could cost me £2, or I could order 5 individual oranges and save myself 85p. So you can see the system prompts you. Now, if you don't want that option turned on, it is literally a tick box to say, do not show me the alternatives. And again, that's controlled by the administrators within the system. So if I wish to order from this product, I can literally put a 5 in that box, click add, and that will then add my product into the basket in the top right-hand corner. I can move down my list and literally add products as I wish. If a supplier updates the system in the background to say a product is not available due to being out of stock, it would then highlight this in the product box, and this box would disappear and actually then tell you that product is not available to purchase because it's out of stock. Each supplier does that in different ways, but again, the idea is that we will give you the option to pick. So if I then add that product to my basket, I can work my way down my list, adding my products to my basket. Okay, and as you can see, I can almost tab through the boxes as well, nice and easy. So a user that's got a full list of products that they wish to add, they can literally put that order into the system nice and easily, and simply by clicking one button, I can add all my products to my basket in the top right-hand corner. When I click on my basket, I will then be presented with the items that I've added. Okay, an estimated cost, which may change due to delivery charges that may be in the system, and also if the fact that I may want to put any savings in there. At the top of the screen, we have what is called a flash report. So this is the start of what we'll look at shortly. And within the system, you can load in a forecast GP. You can also load in your budget and your actuals GPs. Now, those can be fed through from an EPOS system if required, so that as you sell a dish on your till, it can feed back into ProcureWizard to say that dish has been sold, and then deplete the stock in the background, but also tell you what revenue you've generated from that and also what GP you're achieving from that dish as well. And based on your forecast, the system will then start to present to the user based on the current forecast they've got, the actual GPs they've got in there, and the actual revenue they're receiving, it will then start to work out how much potentially they're allowed to save in this current period. As you can see in my current week 2 period, I've actually overspent, but I know that over my whole period, I've still got £174 that I can spend over this current period, or should I say to this current period to date. If I scroll down, I can then see the potential items that I'm ordering. And again, any other potential savings that I may wish to apply in here as well. So if I look at the top product, I can see my oranges. I have the option of picking an alternative product to save on the pack size of the product I'm ordering. So here I was ordering 5 packs of 5, so getting 25 large oranges. I can still swap that to be 25 large individual oranges, so sold separately, and I can still save myself £2.50. If I click replace product, it will then switch that product and then put it to the bottom of the screen. And I can see that product has now been switched through. Now, when I proceed to the checkout, it will then tell me where this order is going. Now, if this order was an accumulation of multiple products from multiple suppliers, you would then see the list of the suppliers that it's coming from. Okay, and that would split that into 2 separate sections at the bottom, potentially 3 or 4 suppliers. Okay, it will tell you the values that you're going to be spending with that supplier. If a certain supplier can't deliver on a certain date, it will highlight to you that in this box here, put a nice red warning message at the top to say a supplier cannot meet the required delivery date. And then it's the user's choice whether they wish to continue with that supplier or whether they wish to change that. Once I'm happy with that, I can then submit this order through to my supplier. It will generate a unique order ID for this particular order. And if this order had to be approved first, it would then actually go through and actually tell the user this order has gone to somebody and who that person is for approval. Until that order has been approved, it will not go to the supplier, but it will sit in the bottom section here in the expected deliveries tab to say it's in internal approval and it's waiting for the user to be approved, for the order to be approved by the user. Once the order has been approved, it will automatically email the user to say this order has now been approved or rejected if that's the case, and it will then send it straight through to the supplier and basically sit there as a future delivery. On the day of delivery, the order will automatically move from the future deliveries tab through into today's deliveries, and it will sit in the today's deliveries waiting there for the user to confirm they've actually received the goods. Now, if I look in my outstanding deliveries, you can see that these are all the orders that I have currently outstanding in my system. There is a difference between the amber color and the green color on the left-hand side. Basically, the green color means that the supplier has already put that invoice into the system for you. And that's the biggest benefit that you'll start to see, is that no longer will you need to put that invoice into your accounts package. The supplier puts it into our system and then we export it into your accounts package in the background. Now, if I pick up this order at the bottom here, okay, so I'm opening that up and the user then goes straight to the delivery tab. On the delivery tab, it will then list the items that they've actually ordered. So here's the quantity of the goods that I actually ordered. And this is where the user would then confirm what they're actually receiving into the business. So if I go to these bananas here, these kiwis, and I'm going to say that I ordered 2 packs of 6, and actually I received 3 of them. Now, what will happen is the system will then do a comparison check to make sure that the quantities that you're actually receiving match what the supplier is actually charging you. Now, when I click on the confirm delivery, the system will then look at this and go, well, does it balance? And I can see that from this invoice, it actually does not balance in the system. Now, if I go to the invoice and actually highlight an issue, a tick box here which says hide match items, the system will then highlight to me where the issues lie within the system that is stopping that invoice moving to the next stage. Now, the way it does that is it looks at basically what your purchase order was, looks at your delivery, looks at your invoice and says, do they match? If it doesn't, it will highlight that and actually stop the invoice being paid until it has been resolved. Now, here I can see that on my oranges here, I was overcharged. I got the same quantity of 5, but I was actually overcharged by £2.50. Okay, so the supplier has charged me £2.50 instead of £2. Now, if I look at my kiwis at the bottom here, I can see that I ordered 2. I was invoiced for 2, but I actually delivered in 3. Okay, so the overall values of that have been increased. And again, on my lemons at the bottom here, the supplier has undercharged me by 20p. okay, on this product, and I should have been charged 21p and I got charged 20p. Now, what the user would then be able to do is actually raise a credit for that. So when I click create a credit, the system will look at anything where the supplier has overcharged me, but where they've not undercharged me. Anything where they've undercharged you, the system will basically see it as a benefit in your kind, and basically it won't alert the supplier of that. So when I click create a credit, the system will now pick up the credit values that are due. So I can see that there is a credit value due on my oranges at the top here. Okay, but because the supplier's undercharged me on my kiwis, it's saying, well, yes, you received more than what you was charged, but you were charged less. So you actually we're not going to notify the supplier of that. When I click submit to my supplier, it will then submit this credit request through the supplier. Okay, there's my credit that's been submitted with the items. And I can then see the related item. The invoice itself is now sat on hold, waiting for the supplier to give you the credit. Only when the supplier gives you the credit will the invoice and the credit go through to your accounts package to be paid. So if you think about now, in the old days, probably when you ran a manual paper invoice, you used to paste the face value of whatever it said on the invoice, and then you'd probably chase the credit in the background. Whereas now what will happen with the system is that you will only ever pay what is in the system, and that's what's been agreed. The key thing about the pricing within the system within TUCO Online is TUCO agree all prices that relate to any TUCO agreed platform frameworks. So you will know that the price that you're seeing on the system is the price that's been agreed. Okay. So talking back through what was obviously on the flash report as well, is if I go into my admin section and scroll down to my flash reports. Now, if I look at my particular flash report that we looked at earlier, I can see that I load in some figures here. So I can see, let me just go back a period. Okay, so I can see here in my flash report, I can see my net actual, which can either be an automated process from your EPOS system, or you can allow your teams to manually enter that. You can also then load in a forecast. So you can see here, I've got a forecast loaded in the system. The next line down from that is basically what your spend is with those suppliers. So as you're purchasing within that certain location, within that catering outlet or that department, it will then look at the orders that have been created and then start to tell you how much you spent within that department. I can load in my stock values, which can be automatically fed in. So when you close your stock takes, it feeds those figures straight through into the flash reports themselves. If you transfer between catering outlets, any products, you can then transfer that values in and out. You can have management allowances. You can also have a wastage. So I've got a manual wastage in this case, but you can have it automatic. And I can see that I've got two wastages. So one's a recorded manual recorded wastage and an automatic wastage. And at the bottom here, we have a daily net spend, and it's almost a mini P&L. So it's telling the user or the department managers what their current status is and where they're currently running in the business. Now, if I scroll right to the bottom here, I can then get an overview over that current period. So in this current period 9, I can see week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Ignore my period timings. Okay, and I can see what my net spend is all the way along and what my actual GP is achieving based on my figures that are coming into the business. Okay, so that's an overview of the flash reports, and again, they're configured to meet your business requirements and however you wish them to work. One second. I've got, have you experienced interfacing with Oracle finance systems in the university settings? We do have an interface currently with Oracle. Every single Oracle interface that we found so far has been unique. So we would just bespoke that integration to your platform and based on your requirements. So it is something we've done in the past, but what we found is with the likes of Oracle, every setup can be completely different and completely unique. So we would work with you to basically meet your requirements. Okay. So that's the flash report within the system itself. Okay, and obviously that's how obviously that information is fed back to obviously higher department managers, and again you can get global reporting for that as well, or individual unit departments. Now we're looking at that as a food flash. You can then obviously have beverage, you can have consumables if you wish as well as another type of flash report. Okay, there is another question coming in. I'll pick it up shortly, and I'll come back to those at the end as well. The other thing that we wanted to look at as well is what is called a spend analysis in the system, which is just one of the key heavy reports that we have in the system. And if I go to my supplier section, I can look at a report called a spend analysis. Now, a spend analysis allows us to filter by individual supplier or a selection of suppliers. So if I click on the drop down, that I've got options of different picking different suppliers or groups of suppliers. I'm going to pick all in this case. I can pick any date range that I wish. So I'm just going to take this back to the beginning of October. Okay. And if I click display report, this will go away and generate a report in the system. And you can see it's quite quickly come up. And what this will then do is gives you filtering options at the top here. Okay, so you can filter this down by individual suppliers, monthly spend, categories, products, individual price, pack price, or unit price. If I scroll down even further, I can then see it goes into sections. Now, one of those sections is here. You can see that you've got these supplier lists here. It will then list to you the number of orders that have been created for that supplier. I can also see the average item that has been spent with that supplier, the average order value, and then the net spend with that supplier, and then the percentage. So it starts to tell you which supplier you're spending the most with, just by a simple report like that. Now, as we scroll down even further, I can see my ad hoc suppliers that I have built in my system. I can also then see my monthly spend for those particular suppliers, so broken down into months. I can then see by secondary category spend analysis. And now every single product within the system has a category. Those categories are controlled by us at Procure Wizard, and we maintain to make sure that those products are kept up to date. So the idea is that we don't get any duplication of categories. So obviously one supplier will use wine and champagne and another supplier will use wines and champagne. What we do is combine those together so that we know that the categories are all the same within the system. As we scroll down even further, what we'll then get is a product category. So I can see here in this case is red wine. And if I scroll down even further, I'll then be able to see the individual product in this case, which has had the most purchased product and the most expensive product I've purchased. So I can see I've had 36 orders, 180 products ordered altogether of that product, the average item, the average order, and the total net value. So I can see that this product alone is 22.3% of my orders that have been created. Now, all that information that we're looking at just here allows us to basically export it. So you can export this using the export to CSV option. So you can do your own filtering in the background. And obviously then you can do your own analytics as well in the background as well. So set your own with parameters. Now, part of that as well is at any point I can then say, well, I just want to look at the supplier spend, in which case I can filter that down just to the supplier spend. And again, export that out as you wish. That data is live. So from the point of an order being created, it is automatically there in the system for you. Okay, so they're just like a brief overview into what Procure Wizard looks at. Sorry, I've just seen a couple of more questions coming in, and I'll pick those up shortly. And again, but if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the questions on the right-hand side, and we'll go through those. If you do have any further questions as well, please feel free to contact us at Procure Wizard, and we're there for at TUCO Online / Procure Wizard, the access group. If you do have, if you want to make contact with us, please feel free using the contact details. Oh, 1 second, the screen is paused. The screen is paused. 1 second, apologies. Where's the screen? Sharing. There we go. There is a contact number, as you can see at the bottom there. And also, if you go onto email info@tuco.ac.uk, and again, if you want to go to the TUCO website, you can make contact with us as well. So just to go through a couple of the questions that we have that have been sent through to us, and let me just read the phone. With our gross supplier, we purchased from the TUCO framework with agreed national prices. In addition, we have locally agreed power pricing with the suppliers that. Okay, how does this work? So regarding different prices within the system, the way that works is that a supplier, a user would, or a company would be able to attach two different separate price files to you, one being the TUCO framework pricing, the other one being your own unique pricing. Now, depending on which one overrides that, as in which one is the cheaper price, would be the one that is displayed to the user. So if your pricing that you have locally agreed with your supplier is cheaper than the TUCO agreed price, then that's what you would be presented with. If the TUCO agreed price is cheaper, again, that's what you would be presented with. So you would be able to see that in the system. And again, it depends on how that supplier decides to set that. Most suppliers will attach two price files to you, one being on your own unique pricing that is agreed by you directly at the university, and the other one would be the TUCO framework price list attached to you. So the likes of, if, for instance, Bid Food, you might be attached to the grocery framework, but then you might have your own unique pricing for, I don't know, the soft drinks framework, framework with your supplier directly, in which case you would have the grocery framework for TUCO attached to you, and then the other pricing will be controlled by yourself. Okay. Another one here is, oh, we got some thanks. Could you drop me a note? Yes, I'll come back to you, Philip. I'll come back to you directly. You mentioned net spend for all suppliers, but there is also a gross spend. But is there also gross spend? So every order obviously is generated at the point. So all the products that go into the system are recorded either VAT or non-VAT. So it depends on obviously the products you purchase, depends on obviously whether it is VATable or not. But yes, all the reporting will still have the gross and net in against those suppliers. So every product that you order, so obviously you order, and again, food obviously is net, no VAT, and obviously non-food or beverage would have the gross element part of it as well. Okay. 1 second, there's another one here. Can the order authorization be scaled by very easy if the order is under 5 euros? Yes, so I've got here, can the order authorization be scaled by value, e.g. if the order is under £500, it goes off to a supplier? Yes, you set the approval limits to however you wish. So you could have, for instance, one user maybe in the system and have a £500 limit against food. But within the beverage side of things, you may say that he only has a 0 limit, so that every order that he raises within beverage has to be approved, but every order under £500 within food can just go straight through to supplier. You specify that, and that's just all part of the setup and training days that we do with you. And again, that can be configured to your own requirements. It can also have quite extensive approval structure in place where you have to get multiple approvers for certain things in the background. So you can have multiple approvals in the background depending on how you wish it to move forward. Again, but that's all just part of the configuration that takes place in the background, and we sit with you to go through that. I have had another one message come through, and I will have to come back to you, sorry, directly if that's okay. So just one of the questions I've just had, which is quite, what are the costs for the system? Just to let you know that under the TUCO frameworks, and obviously as long as you're purchasing under the TUCO frameworks, the system software itself is actually a free of charge platform for yourself. There is training that takes place that obviously you would need to pay for as well, but again, that would be discussed on a case-by-case basis. There is another slight charge that if you wanted to take any non-TUCO suppliers onto the system as well, then there would be a small fee for yourself, which is a yearly fee. That depends on how many catering outlets you have. But again, it's a very small fee. It depends on the catering outlets you have within your business. But again, we would do that to each on a case-by-case basis. So we would work with you directly. That came from one of the questions that have come through. But again, the key thing about it is the software is funded by TUCO for you. So anything, so you get everything from the point of ordering, creating orders, stock taking, all within the system. And again, it's all covered within obviously the framework agreements with TUCO. Another question is, how do you define a catering outlet? So a catering outlet is somewhere that you sell goods to your customers. So if you've got a coffee shop and then a food catering kitchen, a kitchen location that you serve to your customers, your students, then that is defined as a catering outlet. Okay. So anybody else got any more questions at all? I'm just looking through if there's any others that are coming through. Okay, one that's just come through is another one that basically says when we talk about advanced stocks. So within TUCO Online, there is 2 platforms for stocks. One is a very basic stock, so literally it looks at your purchases, what your closing counts are. You can have your sales figures feeding in from your tills into that as well, and it is very basic results that you get at the end. The advanced stocks gives you a lot more complex detail into the drill down of those products that have been sold, the breakdown of how it's been purchased, how it's been lost, and it gives you a lot more detail in the background, and then it allows you for things like transfers in and out of catering outlets, transfer of cost to different units as well, so that can be covered in the advanced stock. So it's a lot more complex, but again, it's now part of the TUCO agreement, which it never used to be. Now it's included, again, free of charge. Another question, which is quite a good one actually, is does it just do food procurement, etc.? You can do any of your food, you can do beverage, you can do your stationery, you can do agency, all within the same platform. So I know that a lot of the TUCO agency agency framework suppliers are on the system already, and we've got a lot of universities that are using those already. So, and again, you can do your stationery in there, you can do your cleaning chemicals in there, your food. So it becomes one platform that the users can place their orders. And again, with you in control as well, you control what their spends are, what their limits are, and what their limitations on how they purchase is controlled. So any non-TUCO framework suppliers, if they come onto the system, so basically get registered on the system, then they would maintain the prices, update them, but then it would come through to you as a business to approve those any price changes that take place. If it is what's called a self-managed supplier, so that's a supplier that actually doesn't want to come onto the system at all, but you wish to put them on the system, then that would be, again, you would maintain those products and prices within the system. But the key thing about non-TUCO framework suppliers is that they would update their prices in the system. It would come through to you as a business to approve that, and then that is what the price you would basically pay in the background. Okay, can this be accessed for non-universities organizations? Yes, it can. And you can use this in any of the industries. So we have this in a lot of the businesses, so hotels, restaurants, bars, cafes. Yes, it's not just for universities, but obviously this is dedicated to TUCO Online for TUCO members, which obviously would be non-TUCO. Okay. If you have any more questions, please feel free, like I say, to contact the info at tuco.ac.uk email address, or contact the phone number, or contact your TUCO representative, and then we can arrange a demonstration if required. I have got a couple of email addresses that are popped in the list that I will contact, that are in the list. So if there is anybody else that wishes to make contact, please feel free to drop your email in the questions, and we'll gladly get in touch with you. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and that's the end of the presentation.